Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, May 17, 2018. It is 6 o'clock. And I would ask for a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Erasmo Villarreal,
Present.
Jose Tellez,
Present.
Carlos Flores,
Present.
Javier Compián, Raúl Ogalde, Johnny Narvaez,
Present.
Vicky Cantu,
Present.
Daniel Lopez,
Present.
Jose Dominguez.
Present.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Thank you.
Make a motion to excuse Commissioner Ugalde and Commissioner Compián.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item that we have is consideration of the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May the 3rd. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes? If not, I'd like to hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you. The next item we have is citizen comments.
No comments.
Thank you. The next item that we have,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to move item 6I as our first item. We have members of the community, and I would like to move that so they will not be waiting.
all right, sir.
This is after that. I'll make a motion to move.
Do we
that.
have a second?
Second.
And a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you. This is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 123, block 8, Delmar Hill, section 1, area A, subdivision, located at 427 Candlewood Road from R1, single-family residential, to R2, multifamily residential. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the item, in favor.
Mr. Chairman, we have an update on this case.
All right,
We have one in favor letters, we have 9 against.
sign against, thank you. Mhm. Okay. All right, anyone who wishes to speak in favor? In favor, yes, sir.
My name is Tony Murillo. I represent the owners, Mr. Juan Avila and Ms. Estela Avila. And they have made this request because definitely they think they can make a positive improvement in that particular corner, which is 1 block away from another converted area, corner. It was converted from R1 for a commercial business use. Mr. and Mrs. Avila are here present, and they're interested in converting this particular area into an R2. They would like to do a duplex. There is a home there, and they think definitely they can make better, make improvements, and yes, improve also the area.
Okay, sir. Any questions for Mr. Murillo from the commission? Thank you for your comments, Mr. Murillo.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item, in favor of this item,
A.
okay? In favor. Anyone who wishes to speak against the item, against the item, yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rosie Silva. I've lived there most of my life. It's always been a single-family residential area. Very nice, quiet neighborhood. Traffic lately is out of control. We're seeing break-ins in our cars and a lot of nuisance around the neighborhood and all, with all the changes that are going on. I feel that if they do make a duplex there, or actually make the zone change, they could bring in anything else that is allowed in an R2, which includes apartments. And from my understanding, it could be 4 stacked up apartments in that one area. There won't be enough parking, and as it is, like I said, there's just a lot of traffic. And it will definitely change the appearance and the feeling of our neighborhood. And that's it.
All right. Any questions for Mrs. Silva?
Yes, how long have you been living there?
I've been living there like for 40 years.
For 40 years?
Yeah, I grew up there, my daughters grew up there. So yeah, it's been quite a while, and unfortunately, I'm seeing the neighborhood change, and it's not changing for the best. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative changes, and I just believe that, changing the zoning, like I said, they don't necessarily have to build a duplex. They could build several different things that just don't go in a neighborhood like that.
And how will that affect you?
Oh, a lot. I'm actually across the street. So the look, the feel, the safety, the traffic. Right now, I have to take different routes to get into Del Mar. If I'm going west, I have to go to where the school is at. If I'm going east, I have to go towards some other street right in front of Nye Elementary. I just can't, just get out of my driveway and go straight to Del Mar. I have to take optional routes to get to where I want to go.
Thank you, Ms. Silva.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak against the zone change, against the zone change, against the zone change. All right,
She wants to speak for it.
for it?
Someone wants to speak for it.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yo soy la señora Estela Ávila. La razón por la que hemos estado pensando esto de hacer algo allí es que es un terreno muy grande. La casa está rentada, pero es imposible ponerles grass o algo para que se vea mejor, porque no lo cuidarían. El agua está demasiado caro y ningún rentero gastaría agua. Entonces, por esa misma calle, a una casa, después hay otra casa que remodelaron e hicieron 2 duplexes para adentro. No están pegados a la casa, sino que los hicieron para adentro. Y luego pues ya el otro señor que se puso ahí con un building de 2 pisos, por esa misma calle, es Fenwick and Candlewood. I'm in the corner. Todo lo que yo quiero es que se vea bien bonito. Para mí es muy importante eso.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, real quick. ¿Usted vive ahí, Miss Ávila?
No, yo vivo en Fenwick y Nye. Y yo cuido mucho lo verde, todo lo que... Todas las casas que yo rento, todo me gusta que esté bien.
Gracias.
Bien. No, nada de mugrero ni cucarachas, nada de eso. Las cuido demasiado.
Gracias.
Gracias.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? No. Muchas gracias por su comentario. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I would like to close and make a motion to deny. The reason that I'm making a motion to deny, Mr. Chairman, is because Fenwick, it's the traffic there is terrible. I'm one of the persons that actually it's always looking for the community. And at this particular instance, I feel that by approving this as an R2, we would be committing, and that's one of the reasons that I asked who lives and who doesn't live there. So the motion is to deny.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against signify by saying against. The motion carries. Thank you. All right. The next item that we have is
Okay.
6A, right? This is,
6A.
6A, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 22.64 acres out of Portion 38, Abstract 472, Dado Sanchez Tract, located north of Celito Lindo Boulevard and west of South Ejido Avenue. R1A reduced area district to R1MH district. This is a public hearing. Anyone who speaks in favor? In favor?
Mr. Chairman, Wayne Nance, Portos Nance Engineering. We're in support of this item. We feel that it's a very good fit. As you know, to the north of there is a mobile home zoning. To the west of it is also for quite a long way, mobile homes. It's bound, so this is like the remaining area, if you will, the remaining corner bounded by streets, and we think it's a perfect fit. We understand, as we have in the past, that staff is somewhat obligated to go against this recommendation because the what is it? The comprehensive plan, excuse me, not thoroughfare plan. The
Yes.
comprehensive plan lists some different kind of zoning for this area. But I think that we hope you all will look favorably on this one because this is an ideal fit for a mobile home zone. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nance, I got a quick question. You said that you've got similar zoning to the north and to the west, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
That was my question.
There's a
Yeah.
question for Mr. Nance.
Is that really the only reason going against it, just because it doesn't fit in with the comprehensive plan?
That is the only reason.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question. Why was this designated this way if there's something similar to it near it?
When the property first got annexed, it came in as an R1A.
The
They
part
did-
where the one that already exists is what you're saying?
The property that's initially there got zoned R1A.
So they've been changing it as.
They've been
goes.
changing it slowly to conform to whatever development they're working on.
And the neighborhood that's right here, that's all trailers? The one that's showing here?
Mobile home.
Well,
You can
you
see on the
could
area.
put mobile homes there.
I'm asking you about this right here, where,
That's all.
Yeah.
All that is R1. Yeah. The undeveloped part is the
I just,
R1A.
I just think there has to be more of an explanation as to why this was designated the way it was under the comp plan. There may have been, there may have been a thought process to it that I would want to understand more thoroughly than just, I'm not sure. So I don't know if you all have any other information other than that.
If I may,
Sure.
without volunteering too much on behalf of staff, whenever this was annexed quite a long time ago, probably at least 20 years ago. R1A was what everybody thought was going to go there. But as it turned out, sometimes, things start changing and then, then little pockets. Because when you're annexing hundreds of acres and you think it's all going to be this, but the demand actually carves little sections out and things start to change. 20 years later, this area has become a mobile home area, and that's.
But I guess that's what I'm wondering, is the city made a policy decision that they want to improve the value of the properties by having some other type of development in the area, or was there just no thought to it? And I'm talking now about when they adopted the comp plan. That's what I want to understand, and I guess we don't have that answer tonight.
I can't speak on behalf of the city for that one.
Okay. So, no clue.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm familiar with that area, and what I feel that the developer is creating, they're trying to get affordable housing for some of the constituents. And I visit the area during the week to familiarize myself with it. And I feel that at this time it's appropriate to grant the solution. That's only a comment.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
And I understand that, Mr. Dominguez, that makes complete sense, it's logical. The issue is that there was a policy decision made when the comp plan was adopted that as a city, we want to have a better process in how we develop areas that are not developed. And so I think that my vote is probably gonna be to vote against it, but because of that process, that I wanna understand what those decisions were, because that's what really needs to be guiding the discussion up here, as opposed to, well, it's just because that's the way it is now. Like, so we're gonna just add it and we're gonna ignore that there was a comp plan adopted. And I just don't think we can do that.
Yeah, well, let me add to that a little bit. I believe the comp plan says that you should be medium density, which means, multifamily type stuff. But again, the comp plan is your best idea. Unfortunately, if for whatever reason, the developer or the owner of that property cannot take that property in that direction, the next thing they have to do is they gotta figure out what is the best use of this property. And I believe that's what this proposal is about, as opposed to morally, not as much as going against the actual comp plan, but more like, at this point, what is the best and highest use for that property? Okay?
Probably talking about comparables of the property, what adjusts to the
That's
development.
really what this is about. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Nance?
No, I don't have any more questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nance. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this item? In favor. Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change to this item? Against? All right, if not, what is the wishes of the commission?
I want to make a motion to support the applicant for the zone change.
Okay,
I second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Or nay?
Okay, we have one against. The zone change is approved. The next item that we have is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lots 1 and 2, block 1703 Eastern Division, located at 2803 Corpus Christi, from a B1 to a B3. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Do you have any updates in terms of the notices sent out?
No updates, Mr. Chairman.
Updates, so there was no feedback, okay? This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change?
If I can make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The situation on this particular corner, which also I'm familiar with it, it's on the corner of Corpus Christi and Arkansas. The traffic it's extreme there. I think the zoning of B1, the way it is right now, I think it's appropriate for that particular corner. And I would like to make, after closing the public hearing, I would like to make a motion to deny and to leave it as a B1 the way it is.
Okay, so your motion is to close the public hearing and
Deny the zone change.
okay. We have a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, what's the issue? We're to close public session, the
To
public?
close the public hearing and go with, I believe it's staff recommendation to deny? What is it?
No, staff recommendation is to approve it.
I'm sorry,
Approve it.
he's going against staff recommendation.
Sorry, what was the reason why you want to not approve it?
Well, what happened, Mr. Flores, is that that particular corner, whatever they can develop in that particular corner, it's appropriate for a B1. We're surrounded by residential properties to the back and to the front and to the sides. So the limitations of the B1 are appropriate right now for that particular corner. It's not that I'm opposing a B3, even though staff is recommending it, because Arkansas, it's a state artery. But at the same time, if we don't have somebody here that can explain to us what they plan to do with a B3, then I have to take in consideration in the good faith and for the community that we don't have any information. Why would we want to change it? I mean, if it's a B1 and they can actually develop that into a business that would be appropriate for the community, then I would leave it at a B1. That's why I'm denying the change.
If I may, here it shows that the proposed use is a commercial center. So, question for staff, could they still go forward building with a commercial center and then apply for the B3 at a later point?
Yes, they can.
And of course, staff is taking into consideration as far as Commissioner Dominguez's considerations as far as traffic flow and all that, right?
Okay. Well, we had a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
I don't know, it's a hard issue because like you've got the tire, like you see the B3 here talks about tire sales, it talks about car wash, but then you've got like the Murillo's tire shop like half a block away from there, you know, and so, but then it's a reasonably attractive area too, so, you know, I mean, you know, you don't want it to go terrible either.
I'll second the motion.
You'll second the motion, okay? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Would you see a show of hands, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against? 2. All right. All right, I'm going to the next item. This is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1, block 282 Eastern Division. I'm sorry.
That's it.
That's the same one.
Oh, you're right. No,
Wait a
this is
minute, wait,
different
it's a different one. No, 16.
Yeah, no, that was 6C.
Yeah, 6C. By rezoning lot 1, block 282 Eastern Division located at 301 East Gustavos from R3 to B1. This is a public hearing. Do we have any updates on the letter sent to the property owners?
No updates, Mr. Chairman.
No updates. And staff supports the zone change. Okay. All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor?
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Oscar Peña. I'm the owner. This lot has been abandoned for more than 20 years. I purchased it last year with the intention of building something there. The school is there. Super S is right behind me. There's commercial businesses right behind me. So my idea is to be considered to do like a two office building space on a B1. It's all commercial traffic there. The lot has been abandoned, like I say, for 20 years. The ladies, they're elder ladies, both adjacent to the lot, they have been broken into because the lot is abandoned. They have expressed to me that they have had persons go into their houses, and one of them is wheelchair bound. I said, well, for somebody being there, there's gonna be more vigilance, there'll be somebody present. So that's for my consideration, if y'all can accept.
Any questions for Mr. Peña? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? Okay. What are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to close public hearing, support staff recommendation, and approve the zone change.
I'll second that
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by authorizing a special use permit for oil and/or gas extraction and production, plug or abandonment on approximately 42.98 acres out of Porción 35, Abstract 546, Jose Medias Tract, known as the Maria Lafon Unit Number 1, located north of Lomas del Sur Boulevard and west of US Highway 83. And the staff supports, I believe this, yes, supports the special use permit. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Yes, sir?
Yes, sir. For the record, my name is Jaime De Leon. I represent this group of gentlemen and myself. We have a little piece of land, 802 River Hill. It's like 200 feet away from that lot. And we're not in favor or against, but we want to see if we can get some questions answered. Like if there's any way that's going to affect our property, you know, if there going to be any drilling or any leaks that, because the property we own is 2 halls that are visited by 600 to 700 of our members on a weekly basis. So we want to see if there's any risk of whatever is going to be approved that they may be in some harm or something could happen with this drilling, or maybe because when we called Ms. Villarreal, she wasn't able to answer some of the questions we had. So we just want to see if we could get those questions answered. Like basically, we just want security for our members, make sure there's safety more than anything, and.
So we explained to the applicant that this was to plug and abandon.
Okay.
So the engineer should be here to answer any further questions.
Yeah, basically, this is a well that's probably flowed out, and now they, by state statute, they have to go ahead and plug the well. So this is basically seizing that well from operating. It'll be plugged. That's the permit they're asking for, permission to go in there, go in the hole, and plug it.
That's it.
Normally, it's done with concrete.
Awesome. There's no drilling that will affect us because we have an easement on our property. It's like 15 feet from our property, and we just want to make sure that nothing's going to be, you know, broken into or anything like that. If not, so we can prepare ourselves for that.
No, they should, you know, I mean, this is to give them a permit to go ahead and plug it. However, if you have an easement, how far away from their property?
Like it's 15 feet in our property.
The easement?
Yeah.
How far is the well from your property?
We got some pictures because we sent Brother Aguilar. He went. Yeah.
You can put it up on the.
Okay, so let me. Okay, 802. This is our property right here. And this is a well that's here, and then these 2 are the 2 wells that they're working on.
There's 2 wells they're working on right now?
That's what. Hay dos norias que están trabajando. Una. ¿Y cuál es la noria esta?
Are they drilling a well, or
That's
are they?
what- that's
They're
what-
working. They're in production. That's what he's saying. Yeah.
They're
So-
producing on a
Yeah.
well. On a well.
We're just worried that it will go into our lot since it's visited quite often during the week.
But this request is only as to the one that they're planning to close, right?
Right.
And since I don't know which one, and for example, we have a body of elders like a board member, and we gotta address that issue.
Can you guys put up the green dot showing that particular well?
Because this request is just standard procedure.
This is a standard request to just plug a well.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But his question is, how is it gonna impact my property? Technically speaking, anytime you're gonna plug a well, usually the working radius around that is usually about an acre, which is 200 feet
Yeah.
in either direction.
And we're in that area.
You're in the 200 feet?
Yeah.
Or-
It's farther than this one over here, right? These are the ones we're working on, so we're over here. We're okay. Shouldn't affect us, right? Can we get something in writing just in case? Yeah, okay, then we're good. Thank you very much. That was
Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Did that help you all?
It was. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Okay.
Que no nos va a afectar, porque está el otro lado.
This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the special use permit, in favor? Well, here's the man that can answer the questions.
Yeah, my name's Billy Granger. I'm production superintendent for Columbus, and we're gonna plug the well and abandon the lease. We lost the lease last year, so our intentions are to plug it, get away from it, and get away from the pipeline. We wanna get away from it because of the liability.
Sure.
So it's gonna be plugged. It's plugged by cement, like you say.
Yeah.
It should take us about 3-4 days and we'll be off of it. And that's the only well in the area.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody who wishes to speak against the special use permit? Against the special use permit? All right, if not, what are the, against, yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Jorge Cabello. I just have questions.
Sure.
Is that gonna be like some type of a danger, like when making those type of jobs?
Is there any danger involved in plugging the well? Really, it's minimal. Because there's no pressure coming out of that hole, so it's,
I'm super worried because I have a big family and I don't wanna come back after my day and have my kids around with all the gas, toxic gas.
there is no toxic gas coming out of that well right now. I mean, that's exactly why they're.
I mean, I'm not against it. If they're gonna just put the plug, it's cool.
Their whole intent, like Mr. Granger just stated, was that they lost the lease, they're abandoning the well, and by law, they have to close the well. And the only way they can do that is to plug it with concrete so that there is no opening where anything can eventually come back up. That's pretty much, unless there's something that I didn't.
No, sir, that's it. We'll have a rig in there for a couple of days and
Yeah.
it'll be out.
All right.
Okay. All right. Anybody else who wishes to speak against? Against? Okay, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing and approve staff's recommendation for special use permit.
All right, then.
I second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 8.42 acres out of Agustin Sanchez Tract, abstract 828, portion 26, located east of Bartlett Avenue and north of University Boulevard from R1 and R2 to B1. This is a public hearing. Do we have any, we had 43 letters sent out. Is there any updates to that?
Any updates? Not that I'm aware of,
I
no.
think he said 828.
What did I say? 82.
It's 282.
No updates? There was 43 letters sent out. I see 0 here, so. And the staff does not support the zone change because it doesn't comply with the comprehensive plan's designation for this as low-density residential.
No updates.
No updates? All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change, in favor of the zone change?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Eduardo Gutierrez. I'm with Premier Engineering. I'm here representing the developer, the applicant. I'm here to speak in favor. I think this location, being that it's on Bartlett and University, two major arterial roads, you know, they're basically Bartlett's like the size of McPherson, 5 lanes. I think it's a good location for commercial use. For this particular item, item E, it is next to some existing residential development. And that's why the developer is proposing a B1 and not a B3. A B3 is for the next item, which is the lots actually fronting on Bartlett. So that's the intent. That's what we want to do. And hopefully you guys can consider that.
Mr. Gutierrez, on this B1, that I know it's a lesser use and you're kind of like using it to buffer a B3. What would your intent be for a B1 development? Is it multi-story, single-story?
What the developer has contemplated is having like a 1-story office, retail, you know, low-intensity use, compatible with the adjacent residential. I mean, I think that's a better use than having like a 3-story apartment next to them. I think they would prefer like a 1-story, and then at the end of the day, 5 o'clock everybody leaves, and there's nothing that bothers the residences at night or whatever.
But this area is over like a multiple lots, like, if I'm not mistaken, there's multiple, like 2-3 acre lots that are being sold like that,
They're
right?
like 1 acre lots, yes.
Okay.
We have, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we have the same situation that the comprehensive plan and what the developer, I think, is doing. They're keeping the residential lots away from that, from Bartlett, which is gonna be extremely traffic. So by creating a B3 and a B1, a buffer in between the residences actually help that particular area.
Exactly.
So I think I kind of see the vision in that myself.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for?
I do have a question.
Yes.
This development, is it gonna be, like, how does the community, the neighborhood access it? Is it gonna be, what are the streets, or how does it connect? Because I think one of the I think guiding principles of the comp plan was that you create neighborhoods that are walkable, so that you can walk to retail, you can walk to restaurants. But if the neighborhood itself is developed not really pedestrian friendly, then is this an opportunity to think about how this thing will be set out that can address that issue?
It could be, to answer your question, I think some of the parameters of the walkability plan and the Viva Laredo plan, they're being implemented into the ordinance, and that's still pending, like relaxing the front setbacks, for example, and allowing for on-street parking. That is not allowed, I believe, at this time, but at some point in the future, it may be. And at that point, I guess the developer would consider that.
But this would be walkable once you guys complete University Boulevard and it.
Oh,
connects all the
absolutely,
way to
yes,
Bartlett.
yes.
Because the Alexander Estates, the actual subdivision is only accessible through Delmar Boulevard right now.
Correct.
But once University, and it's what, about 100 yards where it's?
Approximately, and it's under construction, it's about 70% complete.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if
just
you go
what?
out there right now, everything's in the ground already, and we're just pending the paving.
So once that connects up with Bartlett, everything, the subdivision and your business, or I guess the commercial area would connect up.
That's
fairly
correct,
easily.
yes.
Mr. Gutierrez, I do see up on the map that seems to be a connection right in the middle of the property. Is that a street or what is that?
That's a street stub out into this development.
So that could be utilized to connect back to that particular development, is that correct?
That is correct.
So that would be the walkability from that neighborhood in, or the bikeability and the access from the neighborhood into your development?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Mr. Gutierrez?
No questions.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Gutierrez. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? Yes, sir.
I'm not against it, I just want to have a question.
Surely.
Now that you all mentioned the walkability. Okay, I'm John Aldrete. I've been waiting for a property on Bartlett for 3 years now, right? And because planning and zoning can't make up their minds and finagling with the Alexander people, okay, for a walkable community. I live in Del Mar, C-section. Not one sidewalk exists. Where do you live?
Me?
Yeah.
Ghost Town.
Huh?
Ghost Town.
Ghost Town. Can you walk to the grocery store?
No.
Can you walk to your grocery store?
Yeah.
Will your ice cream melt by the time you get back?
Well, that's because it's 2 miles away.
Okay. We live in a city. Right now it's 105 degrees out there. Okay, I am a cyclist. My cycling friends are pissed off at me because I'm against all of this. Road diet, walkability, right? We don't live in Denver. We don't live in Austin. We don't live in Seattle. The demographics of our people and culture are non-accepting of that. I'll give you a quick example. I have a 16-year-old daughter. Honey, I want to get you a birthday present. Would you like a BMW with air condition or a carbon fiber bicycle to ride to school? What do you think she's gonna say? Okay? It's not in our culture, my friends.
That's fine. What is your point here?
My point is that you're trying to implement planning and zoning changes on the city that's not adaptable.
You're talking about walkability and bicycling and all that.
Correct. Because I don't want to see Delmar Boulevard cut to 3 lanes, like you did with Bartlett.
I agree with you 100%.
Jackman, Shiloh. That's the plan of Bike Laredo. Okay, and you guys are in charge of that.
That's right.
That's why I'm here.
Good.
Okay, speak my mind. Okay?
Good.
And
At the end of the day, my word doesn't mean anything. I'm really nobody.
No.
But I feel comfortable letting you know that there's thousands and thousands of people that don't agree. As a matter of fact, go to my Facebook. I'm talking about it right now. Okay? And when voting time comes, I have 2,800 signatures that didn't like the Bartlett exchange. What do you think is going to happen to that council person?
What happened, Mr. Chairman, is that we have a zone change. And actually, his comment will be very appropriate when we see the developments.
And I think his comments are appropriate in one respect is that I think I'm gonna go ahead, there is a comprehensive plan that was done, doesn't mean it can't be changed, okay? It doesn't mean that.
My property
there
is on Alexander Properties. It's on the water. There's a bike trail that goes right through my patio. I pay for that. I'm all for it, but don't shove it down our throats. I think the city should vote. I think the citizens should vote for something so progressive as that.
Sure.
Okay, I have the cyclist arguing with me that there's people down San Bernardo riding. No, not one. Okay? God bless you guys. You have a hard job, man.
Thank you.
For your time.
All right. All right. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak against his own change, against his own change. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the zone change, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those against? Motion carries. Next item that we have is amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 10.17 acres out of the Agustin Sanchez tract, abstract 282, porción 26, located east of Bartlett Avenue, north of University Boulevard, from B1 and R1 to B3. The proposed use is commercial, and the staff does not support this because it's not compatible with a comprehensive plan designation as low-density residential. This is a public hearing. Anybody is there any updates to the 11 letters sent out? None.
No updates, Mr. Chairman.
Public hearing, anybody wish to speak in favor of the zone change?
This is the front part.
Eduardo Gutierrez with Premier Engineering. I'm in favor of the zone change. This is the adjacent property for the previous item. These are the lots that are fronting on Bartlett, and this is more property for a B3, being that it's right on Bartlett.
Sure.
So appreciate your consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's just a continuation. Now that we approved the B1, it's appropriate to get the B2.
That is correct. It is a continuation zone, and this is the public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? All right, if not, what are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to close public hearings, go against staff recommendation, and approve the zone change.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those against? One against. All right, motion carries. Okay. This is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 14.03 acres out of went up one together. Yeah. Sorry, here we go. Amending the zoning of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 5.37 acres out of 3 comprised tracts of abstract 496 GOH Hall originator abstract 648 J.W. Cody original, and abstract 660 D. Sanchez original located east of Casa Verde Road and south of Lucia Court from R1 to B4. There are 44 letters sent out, one in favor. Is there any update?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant requested to table this item.
Make a motion to table.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 14.03 acres out of abstract 496, abstract 648, abstract 660, located southeast of Casa Verde Road and east of Lucia Court from R1 to R1A.
Did they ask to table this one too?
No, there's an update though.
All right,
We have 1 in favor, 3 against.
all right. And the staff's recommendation is to support the zone change. This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Frank Estrada with Sherfy Engineering. We are in favor of this particular item and are in favor of staff's recommendation. Answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr.
Yes,
Estrada?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that you don't have any access to that area. Apparently, the idea of changing the zoning on the previous item was to grant access to the back area.
The access right now that we are proposing would be through Lucia Court. It is a cul-de-sac at this point, but at some point in time, we will come forward with a preliminary plat, of which we will in turn go through the one-stop shop and see if that is.
What happened that on
something that would be in
Lucia
favor
Court?
and staff.
That particular.
And actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
Actually, we did submit a preliminary plat, except that we need to go forward with the master plan to the Parks Department. So we are in the process of getting scheduled and getting on the Parks Board agenda, and then we'll come forward with the preliminary plat.
Because for the R1A that you're asking in that area,
Correct.
compared to the access that you're gonna have to Lucia, it's gonna be super crowded if you're gonna exit through Lucia.
There will be additional access through where we requested the B4 zoning. That will be coming forward as well. That will access Casa Verde Road. The only problem is that, well, as you can see, staff was against the B4 zoning. We did table the item time certain, and the reason being is because the owners took a second look. The owners are the owners for the Laredo Heat. They were considering possibly one of several developments in the area that they were looking at, one of which was possibly relocating their offices that are right now off of the Loop 20 and near Jackman Road. So their request for a B4 zoning was what they, their zoning right there is a B4, so they just wanted to carry over. After staff's recommendation, they decided, let's revisit this. So that's why we asked for the postponement, time certain. So that we can give staff a chance to go ahead and actually review it once they come forward with what they want. But at some point in time, there will be a secondary point of access, and that secondary point of access will be through where that zone change was requested.
Okay. I think, Mr. Chairman, I think that the way it is as an R1, it's gonna flood the exit to Lucia. And we have no assurance right now that we're gonna have an additional access.
Well, but this is a zone change. He still has to come in with a plat.
That is correct.
Yes, but once we approve the R1A, where the amount of people that are gonna be living in that area, the density is gonna almost double.
Well, yeah, but remember one thing, he has to plat, and when he goes to the one-stop shop, every department's gonna look at it, including fire. Fire's gonna look at this as not having a secondary exit, so they have to resolve those issues. All we're looking at right now is the zoning that they're requesting to approve or deny. Once he goes through the planning process, that's a totally separate issue too, where he has to comply with all the development requirements for a subdivision.
That is correct.
This is all we're doing right now, is looking at the zoning that he's requesting. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Estrada? This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Thank you, Mr. Estrada. Thank you. Wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change?
One comment before
Yes, sir.
we vote for Alejandra. Alejandra, the letter was sent to all the residents of Lucia Court.
All the property owners within the 200 feet, yes.
So they were sent to them.
Yes,
Was
that's correct.
44, right?
41.
41.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
Okay. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion that we approve.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
I'm against.
We have one against. All right, motion carries. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 123, block 8, Delmar Hill, section 1,
We
area
already-
That's the one we already did.
That's the one.
Now we're on 6J.
The one that it was moved.
A. I'm sorry, that's true. We already did that, all right. All right. Amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing a conditional use permit for a bar on lots 1 and 2, block 2, San Isidro McPherson subdivision, phase 4, Caldera Court, located at 9802 McPherson Road, one half of Suite 100 and Suites 101, 102, and 103. And the staff's does not support the proposed conditional use permit. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change, in favor of the zone
Mr.
change?
Chairman, we have an update. We received 2 letters against and 2 in favor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change?
Favor.
In favor?
Hi, I'm Hector Benavides. Yes, I mean, this property or this particular place has operated as such for 10 years. The reason, or biggest reason that we're in favor is in this portion of town, I mean, we're just like the adjacent places. I mean, we have a Wings place and we have Average Joe's and places where you could go see sports or have some type of entertainment for the people that live in this particular area. I can say that in the 10 years that I operated there, I never did receive a noise citation. The place is well constructed with the proper sound barrier sheetrock in order to provide not so much sound out into the neighborhood. When the doors are open from time to time, it is a limited time that it is, but it provides entertainment for the city and things for people to come do in Laredo. I know that I will no longer be operating this place. It will be Raymond Moreno. But I mean, ever since I've closed, I mean, I've had so many messages and emails asking, when we're going to open. It's a nice place. It's well decored. It does not create any type of nuisance for any of the areas. I mean, like everything, you're going to have people that are for and against. But I think it's a positive atmosphere, and it is not a bar in the light that some people may look at it as a cantina. It is an entertainment venue. It will be providing food and things such as wings and hamburgers and things like that. The people that live in the direct neighborhood areas don't need to go so far out and risk driving around the city drunk, after drinking or leaving someplace at 2 in the morning.
People that live in the apartments behind it actually walk over and go home. I mean, they go watch their Cowboys game or what have you, and head back home and have something to do in the direct area. My friend George Gutierrez down the block, I mean, Average Joe's has a conditional use permit for such business as well, and we've always worked hand in hand well together in that area, to keep it what North Laredo should be. So for these reasons, I feel that continued use and the conditional use permit for this particular business, of course, allowing the restrictions that are outlined here that we were given, I don't see anything that we can't comply with.
So you will abide with the conditions, with the conditions of permit? You don't have any problem with that?
All this about the outdoor music and everything that I've read here. I believe, except there's the one mistake of Saturday and Sunday from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. I think it's 1 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yes, I noticed that was.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't see anything that's. I mean, there would be a small question as far as the opaque fence wall. Only because it's the patio side of the building, which, I mean, I don't know how, I think, I guess you would have to be creative about how you do the fence in order to make sure that it looks attractive. I think in its current state, it doesn't provide any sore eyes for it. It's basically an area for people to walk out to smoke or sit down and watch the traffic go by, while they're out there and enjoying a drink or what have you. But other than that, everything that I see on here is well within reasonable means.
I do have a question for staff. I've noticed that you attached the letter signed by Jose Barrera. Who is this individual? Because the applicant that you mentioned, I don't believe it's Barrera.
Raymond Moreno.
Do they have names?
I think he's
It's
a
a partner.
silent partner.
Oh, okay.
They also share ownership in the place called the library, and then now another one called Dolce.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to mention, Mr. Chairman, real quick, that we own, I guess everybody is familiar with that area. It's been there for a long time, and most of the time it's been a restaurant with a bar, and they have complied with most of the items.
I actually humbly disagree. This property's never been in compliance. This property has gone out of their way. These property owners have charged people for parking, have created a public danger by making people to illegally park on other properties because charging people for property. They built a structure that did not have enough parking spaces for any of their uses that they have there. They've always been out of compliance. And to stand here and say that, oh, we will comply now, they've never been in compliance. They've operated al bandido, the way that they've run the bars and all the different bars that they've had there. And I think it is disingenuous at best to say that they've been in compliance, that they've followed the rules, because they've never followed the rules.
If I can refer to your comment, nobody forces anybody to pay anything, and when you go to places like San Antonio or the Riverwalk, you cannot park anywhere without paying.
In the city of Laredo, the way that parking.
You have the option of going to another place without having to illegally park anywhere.
If I may.
All right.
I don't think charging for parking
In
is
the
illegal
city of
anywhere.
Laredo, if you're gonna have a specific business, you need to have a specific number of parking
We
spots
have
available
120
to.
parking spaces, which is very adequate. Furthermore, in the time that I was in business, I was the general superintendent that built the bank across the street, and I had a direct arrangement with the bank to allow my people to park there. Because I had the relationship that I had with Mr. Puig, Mr. David Puig at the Laredo National Bank, which was across, which later on became Compass Bank. I built that bank. So when people would park at the bank, they were not parking out of, not me having an agreement with them.
The purpose is of having the parking space across a 5-lane, very heavily used road.
But there is a
having
crosswalk with a walk sign.
Okay.
That, I mean, there,
Mr.
which again, if you go to San Antonio Riverwalk, you're gonna have the same situations when you're having to cross the street. There's a sign, you push the walk, you wait for the sign to turn green, and you walk. Now, Laredo is not, all the people in Laredo have not adapted to the laws of jaywalking, and some people will cross the street using their cell phones in their hands and not be paying attention. And that's just something that where policing and enforcement should come into the picture.
Oh, I agree completely. I think enforcement should be followed
But again,
through.
it's how you adapt. I mean, bigger cities do it, why can't we?
All right, Mr. Dominguez, I know you had something.
I just wanted to finish, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. You're right. You're correct. But the problem is that was allowed to be built many, many years back. It was allowed, it went through the cracks. And that building has been there for 15, 20 years now?
It's, the building was built in early 2001.
And you're correct, your comments were most appropriate. But unfortunately, that type of business has been there from day one up to now.
13 years.
And I agree with you, 100%. But it would be most unfair to put these people now under the dagger. I think closing them down will actually affect not only them, but the community that goes and has a good time there. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but others like to go there. So that was my comment.
There are plenty of B4s in the area. There are plenty other properties that they can go to. And allowing, to shut them down, it's not necessarily to shut them down. It's, they're asking for permission to open up. So,
that was only a comment.
Let me recognize Commissioner.
Mr. Benavides, the place that you want to open right now, you are the owner of the whole thing, correct? Okay, so you can use all the other parking spaces of the other places that you rent out to, because I suppose they close by 5 o'clock.
Yes, we have adequate hours.
And you're able to use all the other parking spaces there.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm sure you have more than you need.
Yes.
And then you're saying that you still have a contract or some kind of an agreement with the bank across the street?
Property owners, yes. Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have long-standing relationships with.
Well, Mr. Randy, that's something that they're showing, what is it called, that you could actually ask for permission. That's something that they already have in place.
Well, you need to have a written agreement, if I'm not mistaken, within one, you can have additional parking within 1,000 feet, but you have to have a written agreement and turned into the planning
I mean,
department.
I think for the size that we are, we have enough, but it's like everything else. When the things in Laredo, como dicen, cuando entra la cosa de moda, people tend to, let's go check it out, and they tend to and then everybody shows up in their own vehicle, instead of carpooling. And that sometimes creates a parking issue, but I mean, that's why there are laws in place to keep control, and that's why there is officers, and that's why you can give tickets and what have you. I mean, there's nothing against that, I mean, even right now, when you go to the new Applebee's, it gets so full that everybody's parking on the dirt right next to it, and I'm sure everybody here is familiar with that. Because there's not enough actual parking, even though inside you walk in and hey, people fit. Sometimes their cars are more, and people start, they adjust to that. I mean, at one point the wrecker service gets called or what have you, and if you're parked illegally, you're parked illegally.
And I just want to make a comment because my husband, rest in peace, is not here to speak for himself, and I really resent you using the word bandido. I really do, because nobody operated as a bandido. We were given permits. In fact, I have a permit here for a billiards for the same property. We were a B1, but I have it here in front of me. We never did open it, but it was issued to my husband for a billiards. If the city made mistakes, if the staff made mistakes, those mistakes are causing me a financial burden because my husband invested money to create and to build the units to what permits we were granted. And if all of a sudden new staff comes in and they want to change it because something falls through the cracks, why are you coming and hurting us financially? We pay our taxes. We pay over $90,000 a year in taxes in the building. We've operated. I was told prior to applying for the CUP, I was told by Mr. Lozano that we were legal non-conforming, then to be told later, no, that it was an erroneous mistake giving us a permit. But we operated 10 years or 13 years, and this one goes back to 2009 for billiards. And you're telling me we operated as a bandido? No, sir, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I really, really resent your comment. I just want to be able to say that. Because my husband was no bandido. He was a businessman, he worked hard, and we did everything proper.
The comment was that the property has been, since the day that it was set up, non-conforming and operating outside of what it was built for.
I mean, it was.
And in that sense, and whoever was that approved it did so incorrectly or whatever reason it was. But the property has never been in compliance. And coming here and saying, well, we're going to be in compliance now with these restrictions.
No, well, we're not saying we're going to be in, I'm saying we received a list of if it was approved, we would have to abide by.
Those are the restrictions.
And we're agreeing to that.
But
I'm not saying we were not in compliance and now agree to be in compliance.
No,
I'm
but
saying
my
what
disagreement is.
restrictions you set forth, we agree to follow.
My disagreement is if your restrictions, because the property was built as a B1, and it's had every opportunity to do whatever it wanted to make.
Now a B3.
Or B3. You can rent whatever tenant wants to use, all of the laundry list.
What makes us different than Average Joe's?
Because Average Joe's is a B4 and they came in as a B4.
They have, that whole area was a B3, B1 actually.
Well, before, when it got
Whether it was
changed.
approved later on for a zone change, I mean, we're on the same side of McPherson. We have, as a matter of fact, they're closer to homes than we are.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we should be in a better standing as far as distance from
I think there
residential.
are many comments you are making that I agree with you. The difference is you are coming here on May the 17th of 2018, and Average Joe's already is a B4. And
Well, I mean,
the idea that, and I understand.
Es como dicen, o todos rabones o todos conudos. I mean, it's either fair for all or fair for none.
Okay, let me
You
move on.
can't say
Commissioner
no.
Narvaez has a
Question for
question.
staff. So is the main reason for not the approval for the CUP is because the lack of parking spaces? Is that what kind of breaks it down?
That's correct.
So, okay.
So we have counted the spaces and according to business hours, I mean, we have 120 spaces. According to business hours, we fall within what we need.
Is that the case or no?
Not to the information that we have.
Okay. Is there a way you can get a written notice from across the street that would give you those additional spaces?
Yes, yes, I'm sure we can get something. I mean,
I would feel more comfortable approving it, knowing that you had those additional spaces just to be in conformity of.
I mean, I know Mr. Lopez has the Danny's across the street and has expressed in the past, hey, if you ever need any extra parking, you can park here. You
Yeah,
know,
but at this moment, I can't. It's not compliant.
you know. But again, according to the occupancy and according to the hours, I mean, you can do the math here. You have 120 spaces, you know. You have 120 spaces, you have 3,600 square feet. And of those 3,600 square feet, almost half of that is storage, kitchen, and what have you. So you have about maybe 1,500 occupiable space for actual people. So, I mean, 120 cars is more than enough. You know, even if you had 60 cars, I think would still be more than enough.
Let me ask you, Mr. Benavides, right now, you have how many other tenants aside from what you're proposing?
Tenants?
I mean, like,
well, we
different
have-
businesses there.
We have about 7 or 8 different businesses, a lot of them being, closing 6, 7, 8 o'clock. You have the sushi, the new sushi place that, it's, what is it, Sushi Cake, what was that? Mr. Sushi, it's like, they make like the sushi in a tortilla type of thing. And you have the green tea place that's upstairs. You have another food place, you have La Catrina next door, which, I mean, at any given hour, La Catrina won't have more than maybe 3 or 4 cars ever. You have the pizza place, Jalapeños Pizza, which is mainly delivery. And then you have you have a dog place, you have a place that grooms pets in the building. We have that, and I think we had I'm sorry? A tattoo shop. Tattoo shop, which again, doesn't generate more than a car or 2 at a time. So if you drive there now that the place is closed, that Rumors itself is not in business, and you drive there in the evening, the parking lot is almost empty. So I mean, all those empty spaces that are empty now, I think, fill the need for what the location needs.
You have
Without
120
having to
parking
outsource.
spaces in the whole facility, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Like I said, we have 120 spaces. 124? 124 counted spaces. And I mean, gladly, anybody can go out there and recount them to verify our numbers. I think for the 1,500 square feet, that is actual occupiable for customers, I think is adequate. I don't see why the comment of not enough parking spaces. It was at a point, when they had Senor Torros and Karma open there, so you had 3 places operating. Like at that point, yes, I could see where you could say something like that. But at this point in time, 2018, this would be the only business of the sort there now. So, if at one point we were having 3 places, which again required that. And the charge for parking at one point just kind of became for people who, where it happened was that there would be cones set aside for the other tenants for their parking spaces, and they would say, okay, pues if they're gonna park in our space, pues just pay us $10, and you can use our parking. So that was basically what they were doing at that point.
All right.
That no longer exists. I mean, and it didn't exist for the last, I would say the last almost year in business of Rumors, because there was no need for it any further after Senor Toros and Karma closed. There was more than enough room for Rumors, and even when we were operating at full, there was always spaces even left for people.
Okay.
I mean, it was never
Commissioner
an
Flores
issue.
had a question.
Yeah, I
or
have a
comment.
question for staff. So what is the amount of parking spaces required? 182?
That's correct.
182? And that's
For
We
1,500
counted-
square feet?
Can I have, I'm
Occupiable
sorry,
area?
Mr. Benavides, I'm sorry, can I let her answer
Yes, sir.
my
That's
question?
right
Thank you.
away.
I'm sorry, please, okay, so you were gonna tell me what is required by the city for parking for this facility?
We have 45,579 square feet as per WEFCAT on both floors. The applicant provided some information to us, but not to count for the 45. Yes, they do have the site plan on which it was approved when it was built in 2004. Actually, the first floor was built in 2002, and the second floor was 2004.
So the issue, so let me pause you there. So the issue there was when they added the second floor, they needed to get more parking?
The issue is when they approved the project, it was only the shell. There was no specific use for any of their suites. They didn't have any divisions within the building.
And so the way they can remedy the problem is if they get an agreement in writing from the adjacent property or the property across the street.
That's
for this.
correct.
If they
Which
get that in
the
writing, then they're in compliance.
Which
Mr.
the applicant
I'm
is
sorry, go
saying
on.
that they have that contract.
Yeah.
We don't have a copy of that information, so I can't,
So
speak to that.
if they do that, then they'll be in compliance.
Yes.
If I can, Mr. Flores, when they're talking about those number of spaces, they're considering 45,000 square feet. This location is not 45,000 square feet now, once again.
What's the square footage?
Of this exact place, again, this is 3,600 square feet, of which about half of the square footage is storage, restrooms, kitchen, bar. So what's left
So let me pass
is
it
about
back.
maybe
So, okay, let me pass it,
1,500
Mr.
usable.
In light of what he just said, does that change the requirement at all?
No.
Why not?
The uses are the ones that determine the amount of parking,
The total building?
the total building. That's correct.
All right.
So it doesn't matter if it's a vacant, actually suite, it's still required to provide parking.
Okay.
It's for the square footage and the use.
Thank you, okay.
I mean, so we're saying that our 45,000 square feet of building that was built doesn't have enough parking for 45,000 square feet of building, so it shouldn't have been built? I mean, how do you justify that?
Here's my comment. I mean, I think that if all you need is to get a written agreement, it's like you're in the best position to fix the problem.
Well, yes, but.
Like what you're asking us to do, what you're asking us to do.
I'm not saying that,
Excuse me, sir.
that's something that would be impossible, but I'm saying, again, because of the business hours of operation.
Right.
By the time that this particular place is going to where there's people in it, the other businesses are closed. So even their spaces become spaces to that particular place. So you're no longer having to facilitate parking for 45,000 square feet. You're only facilitating it for that.
But think about what you're asking us to do, right?
I mean,
No, hold on, listen, let me look at what you're asking us to do. You're asking us to make an exception to a rule that applies to all the business, hold on, let me finish my thought. You're asking us to make an exception to a rule that applies to all businesses in the city, right?
I don't believe that it should be an exception. I believe if 45,000 square feet was allowed to be built with that many spaces and occupy the building, then we should be able to rent 45,000 square feet worth of
Okay,
space.
so let me finish my thought.
and-
So then,
and be in
so
compliance.
then your solution is simply to get a written document that you say you've already have an agreement for.
No, I said I had an agreement.
It's okay, so you don't have that agreement anymore?
I don't have an agreement anymore. No, originally, when I built the bank, Mr. David Puig was in charge of that bank, and I had a relationship with him. Since then, positions change, people move, he's no longer at that branch. So, the fact that I may or may not be able to attain an agreement. Now, Mr. Flores, I mean, I'm welcome to, go park across the street in the evenings and see how many spaces are left at the end of the day and see, okay, is it really something, I mean, it's like you have the Tilted Kilt and you have their spaces and you have all the areas around that place, you know what I mean? And given the direct parking around it, I mean, if the other businesses were in operation, it wouldn't have enough spaces either. But the other businesses close, by the time they get booming, the other guys are shut down. So, hey, guess what? Everybody parks there. I mean,
I just don't know when you decide that you're gonna follow a rule and it be uniform and when you don't.
Mr. Benavides, if I may, would you be willing to table this item so you could acquire those extra spaces? Because where we're at now, I think the consensus of the commission is that we can't go against policy whether.
I mean, we may never
no,
be
you're-
able to obtain extra parking spaces unless you build a parking garage and you have a place that was constructed and built and operated for X number of years so that we can rent out. So, I mean, I'm speaking as a landlord here.
No, and we understand the thing is we
You know what I
we
mean?
can't go against.
You're saying
city
knock it
policy.
down and change it into an office space, and then that would be okay.
But see, I can I make a comment? I understand his position though, because his position is, I'm already out of compliance. Like, even if you don't let me open up the bar, I'm already out of compliance.
Well, because there's 45,000 square feet.
Right, that's what he's saying. So what he's saying is, let me open up my bar because the alternative is that I can't open up anything anymore. In other words, we render the property useless.
Okay, let me,
Right, is that right?
No, he can still open up
I mean, why-
anything under B3 without having to
That's
ask
correct.
us for permission. He's just asking us to open something that should be out of a B4, not even a B3.
So the parking requirement changes at B4.
Just asking for the conditional use permit to be able to sell the
In order
alcohol.
to get the alcohol, he needs to either be a B4, or if, because he's in a B3, he needs to get special permission. But because he's asking for special permission, he doesn't meet the requirements for that permit.
Okay.
He can go do whatever he wants, a B3 or less, without coming to us, even though that property even still doesn't have enough parking for the B3, but he can go do whatever he wants as a B3. He's just coming here to go for something extra.
Technically saying
that's-
find the loophole in order to do it. I mean, why should there be a loophole? Again, like I said, I mean, you have businesses on the same
think-
side
Let
of
me
the street.
recognize Commissioner Dominguez.
I think we already heard, we're on the limit, we're not going anywhere. Either we approve it or we disapprove it. I think, and my last question, Alejandra, at the closing time of the other businesses that are there, and the parking spaces that are available when the other businesses are closed, will that comply to give them the conditional use permit?
No.
No. Okay. That was my
But
question.
even if the 3,500 square feet were to occupy all the parking spots they have on that property, they still don't have enough parking spaces on that property for the 3,500 square feet.
Oh, and you're
I mean,
right,
the
and that's one of the
occupancy
reasons
number
that-
is 96
that they're
and there's
approaching us
124 parking spaces.
with a conditional use permit, see?
And-
Because they're not in compliance. The only way that they're gonna be able to open, because we're not gonna grant a B4 there for sure. They will not comply for a B4. So the only way that they're gonna open is that we allow the conditional use permit, see? And I feel that we already heard his side, the side of staff, and us as commissioners. And I think it's time for us to move. That's.
Okay, Commissioner Narvaez?
does each suite justify number of spaces required? Or,
Depends on the uses. We don't have a list for all the uses.
so if you reduce,
We have
if you reduce the
some of
uses,
them.
does that,
I'm sorry?
if you reduce the uses for certain suites, does that allow for extra spaces?
Again, we don't have drawings or anything for that project. Based on the WebCat information, on both floors, the total square footage built is 45,579 square feet. For that, the parking spaces required, just for the shell, forget the uses at this point, is 182 parking spaces. The place provides 97, that we count one by one. Yes, they provided a list on their, which it's saying that they have 100 and some. Sorry, I mean, we counted physically the parking.
So then since they opened, you're telling me that they weren't in compliance since they opened 10 years ago?
I could not tell you that because we don't have that information. Again, this is information from WebCat when it was built.
When did you get that information?
We checked,
Is that
that's
recent?
building department would build, we don't issue construction permits. That's building department.
The information that you have, when did you get it?
WebCat.
But how old is that information on webcam?
That's up to date.
Up to date?
Yeah, but
That's
we
correct.
did not add more construction to the facility after the permit. We didn't go build another 10,000 square feet without a permit and sneak it in on you overnight. I mean, it was always gonna be the 45,000 square feet, and it was always going to have, as a matter of fact, in the very original plans, it had another building in the middle that would have even taken up more of the parking spaces, and we removed that building. You know, it was a U, and then it had another diamond-shaped building in the middle. We removed that diamond-shaped building in the middle from the original blueprints in order to have more spaces for parking.
You know, I have a question, staff, regardless if, I mean, they're still gonna have to go through the procedure of the building department, they're still gonna have to run into building accepting, give them a CO, certificate of occupancy, they're still gonna fall in, I mean, that's what we approve or do not approve today, they're gonna run into that, I mean, we're letting them know that that's gonna be an issue, and you might run into a barrier with the building once you go for a final inspection, or that's something that might Here we might,
The
here
conditional
might,
use permit is for the type of use of that square footage. You know, it's not to bring in more than what has already been there. You know, it's not to build
doesn't have the permit.
anything in addition, but just to
permit to
use it
sell
for
alcohol. And I'm saying,
what it's been
regardless,
being used.
for him to be able to operate, the building department's gonna.
No.
Not with the conditional use permit.
He already has an existing building. All he needs is a conditional use to be able to do the activity.
The activity, it's-
And
That's what
actually,
he
the
needs.
question, Mr. Chairman, would be, I'm sorry, the question is, they've had, and I agree with Commissioner Tellez, I agree with him, but the question has been, they've had a bar there all the time since day one. What are we gonna do? Now we're gonna close them down?
No, they're closed. It's closed. They're asking to
closed,
open a
right.
new one.
It's, Mr. Dominguez, that's the thing, though. They don't have to have a bar there.
No.
Okay.
That's not their
That's
only
why we're
option.
here. No, but
All right. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Benavides?
I'm done with Mr.
No, thank you, Mr. Benavides. All right, this is a public hearing, a special use permit. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody else who wishes to speak against? Against?
One last thing.
Yes, ma'am.
One last thing. When you say 45,000 square feet, I just want to clear this. It was originally 36,000. We enclosed some halls to the ends of this, which was what increased. It didn't increase in units, it didn't increase in rentable space. It only closed the exterior hallways in 2 areas. And that is the reason, that it increased. So to just get clear, the 36 versus the 45, that is why it's 45. Don't agree that it's 45, it was 42. But when I fought the value, they came back after they had already measured it. They came back saying that it was 45 when they said it was 42. So even at that, there is a difference of opinion as to the size from day one to now. And I haven't had the money to get a survey to actually go out there and measure it so that I can show the appraisal district who are charging me for taxes on square foot that I know that I don't have. Because when I put out my units, and I did provide that information, I provided unit by unit and who the tenants were and the square footage of the units, I provided and I sent it personally to Ms. Sanchez. And when you add up the square foot, it doesn't give you that. That is what I can lease, that is what I have. I have 4,500 square feet of that space for our own personal storage.
Air conditioned hallways, basically.
Yes, and in addition, we have a unit that was originally City Capital, which was a real estate, which was owned by me, which is 3,000 square feet up and above that I've never been able to lease because it's so hidden and so inside that nobody wants it. So I have 7,500 square feet that are without use because some are required for storage and the other one because it's just obsolete in its form. Now, the thing here is that I am hurt because I invested. I don't have the money. We all know what happened to Mr. Benavides, and I don't have the money to turn this building into something else. We invested the original money into that to build it the way the tenant was given the permit, which in that time, the tenant was Hector Jr. And we invested over $150,000 to build it out so that he could lease it. I don't have the money to turn it into anything else. It is what it is now. It's been operating for 10 years. This is what I'm saying. It's been operating over 10 years. At one point, there was 3 of them. They're no longer there. There's 1. And what it is, I don't understand. Quite frankly, I have to be honest. I don't understand why I'm here if we were given that permit. Now, when we knew he was going out of business, I was scared. I went to the city and had already been told that I could be grandfathered because it was 10 years, over 10 years that it had already been there and that I needed to go. I went before rumors closed because I wanted to make sure. Mr. Chavez at one time told me, if anybody moves out, like the party land that was given a permit to operate as a party land, you have 6 months to comply and have a new tenant for it because you're grandfathered because they gave you the permit. This is what Mr. Chavez told me. When I talked to Mr. Rolando Lozano about the situation, and I went in there in fear that they were gonna shut down and that I wasn't gonna make it, that I was gonna have to go from chapter 11 to chapter 7 because I won't be able to make the mortgage payment, period. And I went in there and I talked to him with all my feelings and everything that is the plain truth. And I told him from day one the situation. He in turn sent me a copy of his email where he emails Mr. Chavez, and Mr. Chavez, he gives me a call back saying Mr. Chavez spoke to him and said that my tenant could just go and apply because it was a legal non-conforming permit because we had already been there so long. Turns out that Mr. Nathan Brand says no. There's no such thing that it's illegal. So what is the difference? Is it illegal non-conforming? Is it not illegal non-conforming? I'm here because I'm trying to comply. I'm not going around like the bandido like Mr. Teja says. I'm here because I want to comply. But understand that we were given that permit to begin with. And we made the investment based on that permit. And I ask for your understanding. I'm here, I'm standing as a widow trying to survive my husband's dream because if it was up to me, I would have already turned that thing in. But I am trying to do my best in trying to survive his wish because that's all I have to go by. And so I'm asking for your consideration. Thank you.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez, on your item number 8 of the CUP here, it says owner shall provide parking spaces in compliance with section 24.78 and 24-78.3 of the Laredo Land Development Code. What is the effect of that? If they are to comply with that point 8, what would their practical reality be in that situation?
To have the specific amount of parking space per uses, the current uses.
So 182? They would have to, so if we approve the CUP as with these comments, then they would still have the burden of fixing the parking.
That's correct.
Well, then, I mean, I think we give them an opportunity to come in compliance.
All right. All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody else who wishes to speak against? If not,
I want to make a motion to close public hearing and support the CUP.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Next item that we have is item 7A. This is the review and reconsideration of the J&H Commercial Park Master Plan. The intent is industrial. The item is approved subject to the following comments. The engineer is Guerra Engineering. And it's approved subject to the comments from planning, fire, water and utilities, parks and leisure, and also development.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, Fred Guerra, with Guerra Engineering. Yeah, we agree with the comments. Just a clarification on the parks and leisure, that we can mention about residential, and there's no residential here.
Right.
Okay, so I want to clarify.
Okay, so you're.
But all else, we're okay with everything else.
You're okay with the comments, even the one where is it? I think there was a comment that I read about having to annex.
Yes, yes, we're aware that, you know, we'll have to annex it, but that'll be during the planning process.
Okay.
Future phases.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Correct.
Any questions for Mr. Guerra?
No questions?
All right. Thank you very much. What are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the consideration of the model subdivision rules. Complying to the plat of Las Misiones subdivision, Unit 9. The intent is residential. So it complies with all the residential rules. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion to second, all those in favor?
Guys, everybody else on Pan Dulce.